just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet.
Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers.
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
And how are we doing out there this evening all across this great land of ours and around the world? This is the Conservative Syndicate coming to you live right now, coast to coast and around the world, as I just said, nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated. And we love doing what we do on this show. It's our mission, of course, is to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. And we do that here at the Conservative Syndicate by espousing what we refer to as the conservative gospel and exposing the lameness of the leftist agenda. And there is so much to expose out there. We are the day after Super Tuesday, and mixed results out there, and a lot of people calling it for one candidate or the other, some being called to drop out. Some are just ready to, coronate Donald Trump. Some are ready to shoot themselves in the head. There's a wide spectrum of responses out there after last night's primary and caucuses. 15 states, I believe it was, and decided. And, I'll say this at the offset. Ted Cruz did a decent job last night. There were a couple states I thought he would take that he did not take, but came in a close second. I thought he would take Georgia. I thought he would take Arkansas. Trump took both of those states, but it was very close in terms of delegate count, in terms of, percentages and everything. And, this morning, of course, the media is just chomping at the bits, man. They're so ready. They are so ready for a Trump-Clinton face-off that they can taste it. And I would just remind all you Trumpsters out there that if you look at the delegate count, this race is far from over. Right now, Donald Trump has 319 delegates. Ted Cruz has 226. So there's not that big of a gap between these two. And I think they need over 1,200 total to be able to do it. But again, let's not forget rule number 40 of the RNC, and that is that candidates must take 50% of the delegates, or 50% of the popular vote in at least 8 states to be able to claim any of the delegates that they're ringing out right now, that they're ringing up in their little ledgers right now. So this thing is far from over, and I am beginning to believe, beyond a shadow of a doubt, almost to the point where I'm almost saying this is going to happen, and that is a brokered convention. There's so much stuff out there. Rubio kind of floated it a couple of weeks ago when he was asked about it, and he was his thing was I don't think so, but anything's possible kind of thing. I was hearing this morning that tomorrow Mitt Romney has some major announcement he's supposed to make in California. Now, it was also emphasized or prefaced that announcement was prefaced with the remarks that Mitt Romney was not going to run. He was not going to enter the race. But there is speculation out there that the idea behind what the GOP needs to do right now to be able to justify a brokered convention without upsetting the electorate, this is the strategy, is to at some point in time throw Mitt Romney or somebody like that in a third-party situation that would pull votes away from all the candidates in the GOP, thus depriving any of them of any outstanding or major gain in terms of the number of delegates. The idea being we'll pull enough votes, hopefully pull enough votes away that it will not allow any of the delegates to gather up the majority that they need, 1,200. I think it's 1,263. I'll probably check on that. I'm not sure if that's the exact number. But the point being is that at this point in time, none of the candidates have at least 25% of what they need. Now, Trump is winning, but he's not winning by that much. He's got like a little over 100 more than Ted Cruz. So this thing is far from over. John Kasich will continue to hang on, hoping that he'll end up being asked to run as vice president or something, but who knows? He might fall out, too. He might fall out. It might take him till after the 15th of the month. Ben Carson did really bad, unfortunately so, because I think Ben Carson is a good person. I think he's a good man. I think he's a man of integrity and honesty. I just really have to say he's in over his head here. He's probably so good and so honest and has such integrity. The political arena is just not the place for a guy like this. Not at this level. Not out there trying to run for the top office of the land. He would be a great cabinet member, maybe Health, Human Services or something like that, Surgeon General. But he's just not cut out for this kind of stuff. And that's not to his fault. That's not to his detriment. That's actually a quality, when you think about what's out there and what it takes to run and win a presidency. So that looks like I wouldn't be surprised if Carson does drop out before the 15th, certainly by the 15th or after the 15th. And I think Kasich might be looking at the same thing. There just isn't going to be enough there for these guys to keep going. So anyway, having said all that, what I'm going to do today, there's several things I want to talk about today, not just the primary last night, although a lot of this stuff feeds off of what happened in the primary and the caucuses out there yesterday. And we're going to talk about some specific areas. We're going to talk about the Trump campaign because there's some things that I found that I hadn't really been paying attention to. I hadn't really paid much attention to Trump's endorsements. Who actually was endorsing Donald Trump? And I found some names out there that I'm really kind of surprised at. And the reason I found them was I was doing some research on David Duke, the former spokesperson for the KKK that has been, was one of the Hail Marys that were lobbed out there yesterday, hoping to bring Donald Trump down as a racist bigot, along with being sexist. That's what the Clinton campaign is going to try to play against him as much as they can. So, but there were some names that just came up that I just really kind of surprised. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because it really underscores what this whole election is about on both sides. Who Donald Trump is and who Bernie Sanders is, really. These guys are, in the eyes of the public, not necessarily true, but in the eyes of the public, anti-establishment, outside the establishment circle, the inner circle that behind the closed-door deals and everything. Although, if you just pay attention to what Donald Trump tells you, he's a deal maker. He's made deals with all these people at one time or another, and that is the problem that I have with Donald Trump. Bernie Sanders is just a wacko socialist, and he has a following. The kids in school that don't know their butts from a hole in the ground are following him. So this whole thing is playing into this much larger picture of basically the establishment trying to figure out how they're going to keep control of the results. They've kept control of the results for decades now, and even more so since the Clinton era. And so they're losing control because they have taken so much for granted. They have taken so much for granted that now that they actually have some adversaries, some people that are actually out there with support, it's amazing. It's amazing. They don't know how to respond. They really don't. They're really having a hard time figuring out what's going on. They're still trying to figure out who to blame. They can't even look in the mirror and understand they created the monster that sits before us right now. So, as we go through this process of the public being lied to in the fact that we still have the right, or we still have the ability to choose who's going to govern us, And it's not governing anymore, it's ruling. That's another thing I'll probably spend a little time on today, talking about the difference between governing and ruling. So there's a lot of things going on out there, and I'm going to talk about some of the things with the Trump campaign, some of the things I've noticed just since last night about the Clinton campaign, and of course what Clinton versus Trump, if that's what it comes down to, what that's going to look like. So those are kind of the things we're going to look at today. So stay with us. We got to go to our first break. We'll be back in just a moment here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
Catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
This is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with my co-host, Joe Hakos, who, by the way, is still recovering from a very bad infection. Really took him out of the picture for quite a while. He's been gone almost a month now, but he is recovering. He is feeling better. He's trying to put some weight on. Lost quite a bit of weight during this infection. Last count, I heard close to 40 pounds. And so he's trying to regain his strength and get back on his feet. And we're going to give him whatever time he needs to recover completely and totally, because he's no good to me out there sick and crippled. So our best out to Joe and his family. He's still in our thoughts, and I hope he's still in your prayers. And now let's get into this thing. You know, I want to start it out this way. It's going to be kind of an off-the-wall approach to this, but I think I really need to do it this way. Excuse me, in order to really underscore what is happening here. Let's start out by saying this. I'll start out with just a very generalized statement. This election cycle is unlike any election cycle I've seen in my lifetime, only because all the behind the deal, all behind, the behind the door deals, all the voter manipulation, all the voter fraud, all the lying, all the deceiving, all the buying of the votes, all the influencing, all the blackmail, all the things that have played into the election process for many decades now, and maybe since the beginning of the country, but certainly in the last 5 or 6 decades, it's been dirty pull. It's almost like, I would say, for lack of a better, I'm just going to give you an analogy here. It's almost like American politics has turned into the syndicate. And it's just a matter of what the syndicate wants and how it's being done and how it's perpetrated. And we, the people, really have been for quite a while here, with maybe the exception of Reagan, because Reagan is kind of like Trump in the way that when he burst onto the scene, he rocked the boat. He rocked the establishment vote, and he was able to pull it off. And because of that, we at least delayed the implosion of the republic that was heading down the toilet fast under Jimmy Carter. But this whole thing, this whole idea that I'm trying to drive at here is that the political environment today is really erratic and chaotic, because this is the first election in quite a while, maybe since Reagan, that the establishments on both sides have not been able to control the process and the campaigns and the money and everything else to such a degree that we are left always selecting the lesser of two evils. It seems like, in my mind, this is what it keeps coming up in my mind. This is what it is. This is what it's about. We're always being left with the lesser of two evils. Now, we say the lesser of two evils, but the people that are putting these candidates up and have been able to manipulate the process, it's the better of two evils. Their idea, Hillary Clinton for the left, is perfect for carrying on the Obama legacy, because she's too damn stupid to figure out how to do anything any different. And this Obama pulled off what Bill Clinton wanted to, but couldn't, because there was still a strong enough or big enough barrier there in the presence of Newt Gingrich to keep that from happening. Not that Newt Gingrich was this diehard conservative that everybody plays him out to be. But we know that the Republican Party at that time, during the Clinton administration, the Republican Party knew how to play the game, and they would play the game. Today we have a Congress that doesn't want to play the game and has probably forgotten how to play the game. And we know that because all they seem to know how to do is bend over whenever somebody on the left says they want something. You know, they rattle their swords and they give us a speech about small government, limited government, and how they're going to stop everything. And then they quickly turn around. I mean, I don't even think they need Vaseline anymore, for crying out loud. So here's what that is the thing that I kind of want to emphasize here that has happened. There has been a voter uprising. And when you break down the demographics of Donald Trump, I don't like the guy myself. I don't think he's the right guy. I think that he is Obama with a worse haircut. But here's my point. He has and does know how to play the game. And he knows how to play a game because he's a deal maker. He has not hid that. It's just like when Barack Obama became president, or before he became president. Remember that famous speech on October 30th, 2008? We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America. Barack Obama never hid from the public what he intended to do. And that is to fundamentally transform the United States of America, to introduce socialism under the guise of middle-class rebuilding or centralism or pragmatism. He was, it was branded everything but what it was and what it is, and that's socialism. Well, Bernie Sanders is throwing a wrench in that because Bernie Sanders comes out and says, I'm a socialist, and this is what socialists believe. And he basically echoes everything that Obama has done and Hillary and Bill Clinton have believed in for decades. But he just comes out and says, well, if you give me the power, I'm going to go full bore on this thing. Donald Trump is playing it a little bit different. Donald Trump is playing socialism, or I'm not going to say socialism, because I don't think Trump is an ideologue. I don't think he really has an ideology. I think he is, as everybody says, a businessman. And everything he's doing is for the furthering of the Trump brand. And not only at the level of the national level, but the international level. Because this guy deals with people all over the world. And he's made a lot of money. How much money? I don't know. I don't really care. It's irrelevant. I know he's got a lot more than I do. But the point being is that this whole process that we're watching go on right now is the idea that the electorate, there is enough in the electorate on both sides that they've just gotten up and they've said, you know what? I no longer care about my ideology because nobody's listening to my ideology. And certainly nobody is governing by my ideological beliefs. What the electorate is doing is just saying, I am so pissed off at what's going on, and I am so tired of being marginalized and being used and exploited, with the exception of the black community, which seems to love it. But other than that, I'm just so pissed off, let's just burn the whole thing to the ground. And let's throw somebody like a Donald Trump in there on the right. Let's throw somebody like a Bernie Sanders in there on the left. If we're going to go socialist, let's go full bore. If we're gonna go completely into anarchy, if we're gonna go into if the dollar means everything to such a degree that everybody's telling us it does, yeah, let's just burn it all to the ground. Let's turn the United States into one resort hotel kind of thing. That's what we're looking at here. And so the establishments on both sides have lost control of their voters, at least to the point, at least to the degree that they don't know what the outcome is going to be this time. Now, I can guarantee you, on the left, they're pitching back and forth to each other. We got to figure out how we're going to make this thing work. We got to figure out how do we adjust. Hillary Clinton will pretty much during her campaign, should she continue and take the nomination, and the only thing that would stop her at this point, it looks like, is an indictment. If she's indicted, well, it's all over for Hillary. So they'll have to pull somebody out of the woodwork. It isn't going to be Bernie Sanders, I can guarantee you that. It'll be a Joe Biden or a Mike Bloomberg or somebody like that. Somebody that fits the establishment template, can get out there and lie with a smile and make everybody feel that, hey, it's no big deal, don't worry about it, we can deal with it. This is just another right-wing conspiracy, and they managed to pull it off, and Hillary's going to go to prison, but that doesn't make any difference because now we have a martyr. Hillary Clinton will become a martyr of the right-wing establishment kind of thing, and they'll play it, and they'll, whatever they do with it, they do with it. On the right, the GOP is just, they don't know what to do. They really don't know what to do. They're grabbing for straws. How are we going to stop this? When you're pulling, just think about this for a minute. Romney got his ass whipped in 2012. He got it whipped worse than John McCain did in 2008. And the establishment is still talking about the feasibility of putting Mitt Romney in the race in hopes of stopping Donald Trump. How desperate do you have to be to know that the guy you're going to try to throw out there to get all these people to the polls that are going to Donald Trump, and Trump has crossed the ideological lines. He is pulling in Democrats. He is pulling in independents. He's pulling in every age bracket. And with the exception of the black community, he's pulling in almost every demographic. The black community is the black community. God bless their souls, but these people just have not allowed themselves to walk away from the chains they claim that enslave them. They're like that elephant. I remember watching this on a video once. The black community is like the elephant who, for years as he was being raised, had a chain around his foot and he would walk around his cage. And when he got to a certain age, they were able to remove the cage and the chain, and he still stayed within the parameter of the stage. That is what's happened to the black community, and to their detriment. And like I said, God bless them. I know there's most of them are serious about wanting to be represented, about wanting opportunity, but they have just been duped into believing since the Civil Rights Act that they never were really granted any freedom, and that is to their detriment. If they wake up and figure out that they've got just as much opportunity as Clarence Thomas or Chris Rock, one of their main spokespeople out there who makes millions of dollars being funny and ostracizing and hurling racial epithets at white people in a room, and they clap and give them standing ovations for it. I mean, how doesn't get much dumber than that. But, you know, when these people, you got Clarence Thomas, you got Ben Carson, you got Thomas Sowell, you've got people out there who have achieved, in spite of the fact that they're black. You know, Condoleezza Rice, wow, what a dynamic woman. What a great diplomat. What a intelligent human being. And they transcended those chains of enslavement, because they were raised to believe that the Civil Rights Act meant that you could do what you want. Most of the people in the black community today, what do they talk about? What the Civil Rights Act doesn't even exist in their mind. It's that they're still being enslaved. They're still being oppressed. That's what the whole Black Lives Matter movement is about. These people never realized, or probably because they never learned it in school, and nobody's learning it in school, for that matter, that the Civil Rights Act freed them completely. The Emancipation Proclamation freed them. The Civil Rights Act made them equal to anybody else in society under the terms and conditions of society, which is if you work hard, you do your things right, you obey the law, you put you get your act together and you do it right, eventually you'll achieve something. But that isn't happening. But I'm digressing here. The point being is when we talk about the Trump campaign, he has ignited a populist movement. A populist movement, probably what the Tea Party wished they had actually accomplished when they launched in 2010. Because the Tea Party movement in its early days also transcended ideological lines. Of course, they've allowed themselves to be boxed in. They've allowed themselves to be labeled. They've allowed themselves to be put on a shelf. And they spend most of their time now picking and choosing what little social issues they think they can raise money for to go out and campaign for. They've lost their central point, and that is removing government from our lives, and they've just become little activists, mini activists for one type of movement or another, one type of issue or another. And they never did come together in a cohesive manner, and they still, that's their problem. That's to their detriment. So anyway, having said all that, when we come back from our break here, I want to get more into the details of what I have noticed here about the Trump campaign and some of the things I saw, especially last night when Trump was giving his speech down there in Palm Beach, Florida, after it was determined he was going to win about 6 of the states, and he came out and gave a speech. Nothing that we haven't heard on the debate stage, but there were some other things going on that I noticed that I took special note of, and we'll talk about that when we get back. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate. I'm your host, John Matthews, flying solo today. I had scheduled Ron Edwards from the Edwards Notebook to be doing a segment with us today, but I have not heard from him. And I've got a sneaky suspicion that he may be down where so many of my other colleagues are right now, particularly some of the other networks that we're on, affiliates, SHR Media, High Plains Radio, Red State Radio. They're all down at CPAC or at CPAC. I don't know if it's down from here, out here in California, but they're all at CPAC, and we may have had a communication problem there. So I may end up flying solo today, but that's okay because I'm armed and loaded for bear. I'm ready to go today with kind of my own roundtable. Let's just call this John Matthews does a roundtable with John Matthews. And we'll probably be taking some calls later, but I want to get to a very specific place today about what's going on right now and what I saw after the primary last night. Now, let me start out by saying this. The Trump endorsement wagon. This is something that I had not paid a whole lot of attention to, and apparently by Trump's own words, he had not paid a whole lot of attention to. He said that endorsements don't really mean that much to him. I guess, because they're not sending him money or whatever. I don't know. But, I'm going to take him at his word there. These kind of things, these little semantic issues don't really mean anything in the big picture. And a lot of people get tied up on this stuff. And they get bogged down in the minors. They major in the minors, and nothing really gets resolved or talked about. But there were some people with the David Duke backdoor endorsement. David Duke came out and denied that he endorsed Donald Trump, but he said, that everybody should vote for Trump because of his strategy on illegal immigration, which I don't know how that is not an endorsement. But in today's political arena, anything is what they say it is, and it's not what they say it's not. So we'll just take him at his word that in the world of David Duke, telling people to vote for a candidate is not an endorsement. We'll give him that, all right? But and he denied the endorsement. And also, but much truer to the point, was he pointed out that the media is still trying to portray him as the head of the KKK. He has not been involved in the KKK for 40 years. This man also ran for political office. He won in the House of Representatives. He ran for governor in Louisiana. I think he was beaten. I think Bobby Jindal was the one that ended up beating him. But he had a very popular backing. And it wasn't all just KKK members, okay? So, but he was, that was the thing that triggered my research. That's why I brought that up. Well, I'm going to talk about it a little bit more later when we start talking about the Clinton campaign. So, but here's some people that I really had not expected to endorse Donald Trump. Trey Gowdy, I did not think would go down that route. Oh, no, he didn't. I'm sorry. Trey Gowdy endorsed Marco Rubio. I got to scratch that. I don't know why I thought of his name when I thought of Donald Trump. But there is another very popular senator on the conservative side that endorsed Donald Trump, and that is Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions is a highly respected conservative among conservatives, and he is very much in the same mold as Mike Lee and Ted Cruz in the fact that he's not afraid to take on the establishment. He's not afraid to tell Obama he's a jerk. So I was very surprised that Jeff Sessions would endorse Donald Trump. I thought he'd be more of a Cruz supporter. So that's surprising. But again, it feeds into this idea. I think Jeff Sessions might be one of the senators up for re-election. And understanding that Donald Trump has pulled in, or he's attracting that across-the-line vote, that he's breaking the ideological barriers, he might have figured, hey, that's to my advantage to be able to do that, Franklin Graham, the son of Billy Graham, has endorsed Donald Trump. That's another surprising one. And I don't know what the thought is behind that, given the fact that Cruz is the most evangelical of the group, certainly the most knowledgeable about Christianity and Christian doctrine. Donald Trump is none of those things. Donald Trump is a Presbyterian. That's like being a Methodist. That means you're a member of the club, but that doesn't mean you go to any of the meetings, that kind of stuff. Scott Brown, the former Senator Scott Brown, remember the guy that ran for Ted Kennedy's spot in Massachusetts and won by the Tea Party? The Tea Party elected him, and he immediately turned into a progressive as soon as he got in the doors. Chris Christie, which I'm going to talk about later, because Chris Christie really plays into some of the things I saw last night at Trump's speech. Former Arizona Governor Jan Brewer. That one surprised me. I thought she'd be more in the Marco Rubio camp because she is certainly an establishment type and plays with the establishment and into the establishment very well. I don't know what her thinking was about Donald Trump unless she sides with his immigration policy because they have an immigration problem down in Arizona. Kid Rock, which is the comic relief. But Kid Rock, believe it or not, I've listened to this guy. He's not an idiot when it comes to politics. He actually understands what's going on, and he is pretty conservative in his views, so it is what it is. But here's my deal. Here's my thing. Remember, this is what I saw last night. Donald Trump gets up there and starts to regurgitate his normal speech, Everything is going to be great. Everything's going to be great. We're going to build a wall. We're going to make the deals. We're going to bring back the businesses. And he did do something that I hadn't heard him do for a while, or in my mind, or I don't think I've ever heard him do it. He actually explained some of the aspects of foreign trade and talked about how China's devaluing their money and how they are able to attract all these businesses outside, and the reason being is that we're the most taxed nation when it comes to businesses, and what we're going to do is we're going to lower those taxes, we're going to eliminate the regulations, we're going to bring these countries back. He named off several companies that have just left, corporations just left in this year alone, last year and this year, and this is how we're going to bring them back. And I thought, okay, that's fine. We're finally getting some substance out of this guy. So, he was doing that, but During the speech is what I noticed. If you listened to it or watched it last night, you'll know that the person that introduced Donald Trump at his acceptance speech or his victory party or whatever they call these things, it was none other than Chris Christie. Chris Christie gets up there and introduces Donald Trump, of course, as the next president of the United States. And then Christie stands in the background as Trump is giving his speech, and he's the Joe Biden behind Obama at the State of the Union message. Every time Trump said something radical or controversial, Christie's the one leading the applause. He was the applause monitor. They should have just given him a button to the applause sign that tells people when to clap. But I'm going, what is Chris Christie doing there? What is he doing? There are a lot of other people in Florida that could have introduced him. Rick Scott, the governor of Florida, endorsed Donald Trump. Why didn't you have the governor of Florida come down and introduce you? It would have been great. He just endorsed you yesterday, Donald. Why not let him be the guy that stands up there and introduces you and then says, by the way, I endorse Donald Trump? Okay, now, Rick Scott is not the most conservative guy around either, He's more conservative than Christ was, but I'm getting off my point here. I want to get back to my point. So, I'm looking at this, and it hits me like a thunderbolt. Chris Christie made a deal with Donald Trump. Now, whatever that deal is, it's one of two things. Either Trump promised him the VP spot on the ticket, or Trump promised him an appointment in the Supreme Court of the United States. One of those two things. Now, Chris Christie, in my opinion, wouldn't be bad in the Supreme Court. He would be horrible as vice president. Because if something happened to Trump, that means we'd have Christie as a president. That's not good news. But as a Supreme Court justice, he would be passable, although I do not think he is the ultimate or the ideal person, because Christie has some very moderate views on things like same-sex marriage and abortion. But it hit me, and I'm thinking, you know what? I bet you Chris Christie made a deal. I'll endorse you. I'll throw my support towards you, and you give me that VP slot that Kasich is over there on the other end of the stage trying to earn by being the nice guy in the room. So that was my first observation watching that. I think Chris Christie made a deal to throw his hat in and just say, you know what, I'm going to go behind Trump because at least I'll have a job here once they boot me out of governor of New Jersey. The other side of this thing, of course, is the anger over principle reason, and we'll get into that shortly here. We're getting ready to go to another break here. When we come back, we'll continue the Trump campaign, and I probably won't get into the Clinton stuff till next hour. But there's a crossover here, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing today. Very specific target where I want to go. I want to show you the crossover between the Trump and the Clinton campaign and ideology, and where this thing may actually end up, that we have two New Yorkers that 50% of the country don't like running for the highest office in the land, and neither one of them are promising in terms of what the outcome will be. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. And welcome back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate. I'm your host, John Matthews, mad prophet of the airways. You know, sometimes being able to discern what's going on really is scary. There's times, you know, I see things. I've been talking about things now. Joe and I have been talking about things for months, just for months, literally, in some areas. And the idea or the realization by the mainstream media, and they start posting stuff out there. We started talking about a broker convention in June, I think it was, of last year. And now all of a sudden that's being floated all over the place. Mainstream media, talking heads like Rush Limbaugh and Hannity and Megyn Kelly the other night. Of course, she tried to play dummy. She did try to play the bimbo the other night. She's talking to the Democrats about superdelegates, and she's trying to lure them into a conversation to expose what superdelegates are for the Democrats, and she just played dumb. Gee, you're talking over my head. I don't understand this. Of course you do, Megan. You don't fool us. And she's laughing and giggling, hoping that they would say something, reveal something that would expose what Debbie Wasserman Schultz has already exposed. And that is that superdelegates are designed for the purpose of keeping somebody like Bernie Sanders from ever winning. Yeah, he can have the following, as Wasserman Schultz said. Yeah, you can participate in the process, and you can be part of this great movement of progressivism. But if you think for 1 minute we're going to hand the mantle over to you and let you run the show, that ain't going to happen. So these are the kind of things that are going on here. But you get so sometimes, it's like some of the things that we have seen and talked about. It's just downright scary when you start seeing it, or when you see the mainstream media catch up. And first you're thinking, oh, wow, we've been talking about that. That's great. But then you start thinking, well, why did I know this months ago? And they're just now figuring it out. That kind of is a little spooky sometimes. But anyway, one of the things I was saying here just before the break, we'll get back to my little dissertation today on the crossover elements of a Trump-Clinton face-off, should it come to that. I'm still very convinced that the GOP establishment is going to do everything, absolutely everything in their power to keep Donald Trump from winning this nomination, and they're going to want to somehow be able to bring it to a brokered convention. And the only way they can do that is they have to be able to manipulate the primaries and the caucuses in such a way that no candidate garners the majority of votes they need, and no candidate garners that 50% cutoff in 8 of the states. That's easier to obtain based on what we're seeing right now. And as long as Kasich and Carson and even Rubio stay in the race, there's a good chance that might be why Rubio's staying in the race right now. See, I have this little idea in the back of my mind that the object of the game here is for Rubio just to hang on, do what he can do to keep that delegate count down. And then if they're able to throw a wrench in the works, like a Mitt Romney third-party candidacy or something, they can draw votes away that would keep Trump and or Cruz from taking the majority of delegates need to get the nomination. Now they can go before the electorate and justify, hey, we got to have a brokered convention because, guys, rules are rules. We play by the rules when it's to our benefit. We break the rules when it's not. But we have to do this because this is the integrity of the institution of the Republican Party. And so Rubio would be the likely choice at that point, being as he does have the most delegates for the establishment. He is the most representative. And this guy's mentored by Jeb Bush. He knows, he was mentored to sell out. He just hasn't had the opportunity to do it full bore yet. And so that's what I'm seeing right there. That's one of the things I was figuring in my mind last night, too, as I'm seeing the totals come in. And I'm saying, okay, well, Trump, he won most of the states. Cruz won a few, won 3, I believe, Texas, Oklahoma, and Alaska, which is really, there's something that's telling for you right there. How is it that Cruz won Alaska when Sarah Palin is the one that endorsed Trump? It tells you where Sarah Palin's at in the eyes of the people out there. Only the real diehards, only the people that really think her as the women out there that think Sarah is their sister kind of thing, the way that people look at Hillary as a protector of women's rights, that kind of stuff. Those are the ones that will follow somebody like a Donald Trump. So Cruz wins Alaska. Trump wins, I think, of 6 or 7 of them. And Rubio wins 1. Kasich and Carson, they split up the lower tier. So as I'm listening to Trump last night, and it just kept recirculating in my head, this idea of what drives the Trump campaign is that ideological barriers and principles have pretty much been thrown out. And the reason they've been thrown out is because nobody in either side of the establishments honor them. They don't hold the principles to be valuable. They don't base their actions and their governing on what these principles dictate. You look at the Republican platform, there is nothing that the Republicans have done in the last 8 years and maybe more that even comes close to resembling what the party platform says the Republican Party believes in. Of course, on the left, they don't really need a platform because their platform is just give everything away free. The land of the free means land of the free stuff. That's how they interpret the land of free. It's a land of the free stuff. So they haven't had a real platform in years. They don't need one because the people on their side of the aisle don't care. Just give me this stuff. Just give me this stuff. And take it from, I don't care who you take it from. I don't care how hard anybody worked to earn it. I deserve it because I'm black or I'm Hispanic or I'm Asian or I'm poor, or I'm gay or whatever. I deserve all this stuff. So that's the Democrat platform. We'll give you all of this is the land of the free stuff. So here we are, and all I could keep thinking in my mind as I'm listening to Trump is what I have referred to or what I call the Gruber theorem, Jonathan Gruber. the stupidity of the American voter. The stupidity of the American voter that allows candidates, movements, and at this point in time, political parties to not be transparent about who they are. You'll remember Gruber's quote, "The lack of transparency is a political advantage." And call it the stupidity of the American voter, but it is what it is, and it works. So that's what I was watching last night. The populist movement of Donald Trump, and that's what he is. He's a populist. He's not a conservative. He's not a Democrat. He's not an independent. He's not a Hindu. He's not anything. He is a businessman who works to promote the brand of Donald Trump. And so everything he says and everything he's talking about in terms of being this great deal maker that's going to deal America back into the international picture, and he's going to do all this great stuff in the name of conservatism. It's not really conservatism. It's the Trump brand of conservatism, which is nothing more than populism that makes money. It's populism. Now, I'm not saying that if Trump does this, if he is able to make the deals that stimulate the economy and bring jobs back to America and gets us on the right foot, and we begin to head down that trail once again of prosperity and incomes begin to increase, jobs are created, all that stuff is good. But on the moral basis, on the moral compass of the country, I think he'll pretty much just be flat, dull, and void. I don't think Donald Trump cares about abortion. I don't think he cares about same-sex marriage, outside of whether we can create businesses that will cater cakes to gay marriages or whatever. I don't think he cares about abortion. These are things that he's got to support. He has said more than once. I've heard him say more than once. His views are not always as set in stone as he says they are. He says things. He acknowledges what's the number one rule of a politician? You say what you have to say to the degree you have to say it to make your point to get the support. You read his book. One of the first things that was touted early on in his campaign is that Donald Trump's deal-making is set upon this type of structure. You go for everything knowing that you'll end up with what you really want. You go out there and say, we're going to build a wall in Mexico, and it's going to be 50 feet high. And because Vincent Fox doesn't think he's going to pay for it, we'll make it 60 feet high. And Mexico's going to pay for it. And it's going to be great. And we're going to keep all these people coming in from the country that are robbing from us. And we're going to deport 12 million illegals back to Mexico. And we'll see if we can, that kind of stuff. And yet, that's the ultimate. That's throwing it all out there. That's going for the brass ring. This is what I want. But now he's already beginning to walk it back. Well, there could be negotiations. We could maybe figure out some way of letting some of these 11 million that we deport stay in the country or come back in the country. And, maybe the wall will only be 2 feet shorter. I might negotiate on that, So he's already indicating that what's happening here, and why is he doing that? Well, because he is expected now to win. So now he's got to prepare himself. He's like the candidate, Robert Redford, in the candidate, who just went out there and said whatever he wanted to say. And he attacked everybody, and he attacked the establishment. This old man was one of the people that he went after the hardest, one of these establishment politicians. And then all of a sudden one day he wins the election. and his campaign manager looks at him in the last scene of the movie. Well, what do we do now, Senator? See, they didn't expect him to call in or to win. So that's what we're dealing with Trump. And I'm going to go more into that the next hour here. We're coming up at the top of the hour here. It's time for the Edwards Notebook, and we'll pay some bills, and then we'll be back next hour with more for you right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
American students are right to be sick and tired of the two-headed monster political system of today. But they must learn before it's too late that neither Bernie, Hillary, or Rubio are good alternatives. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's today's page from the Edwards Notebook, young people are going out in droves to get involved in or to openly show their disapproval with what they consider to be the status quo political and economic system in America. But unfortunately, thanks but no thanks to years of government school indoctrination against all that is good, including liberty, the Constitution, Bill of Rights, the traditional family, and even God himself, many high school and college students believe that communism is the way the republic should lean. They are hoodwinked into thinking that communism, which gives all power to the government, will somehow unveil more freedom for we the people. When asked how will companies grow to provide needed jobs, many students just said the government will provide jobs and that companies are all corrupt. Such a sad state of affairs. And to add insult to injury, America's government school system is the most expensive self-destructive operation of any nation throughout history. However, I am inclined to believe that America will soon witness a positive reversal of this madness as providential wisdom returns to the United States of America. I'm Ron Edwards.
Blowing away the myths and revealing the truth. You can continue to blow away the myths with Ron Edwards on Facebook, Twitter, and theronedwards.com.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
All you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet.
Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Akos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The conservative syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated conservative syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
Back, and this is hour 2 of the Conservative Syndicate. I'm your host, John Matthews. You are listening to Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives, and we're glad you took the time to join us today. I hope you got something on that first hour. I've got more here. I have a very specific area or direction I'm going in today, and but before we get into that, I've got a caller here, Rick from Shake and Wake Radio. And Rick, how are you doing this afternoon?
Good. It's evening here in Florida, but yeah, I had heard you mention it about Chris, and shortly after the Sandy Hook thing, Chris Rock and a bunch of celebrities, even somebody that being a singer that I really looked up to because I thought he was really cool there. What's the name of that guy who did I Left My Heart in San Francisco?
Yeah, Tony Bennett.
Tony Bennett. Yeah, they all did a press conference, and Chris Rock was saying the president is kind of like the father, right? And when you don't do what your father says, you usually get into trouble and regret it later on down the road. And all these celebrities are coming out saying we don't need the Second Amendment. And for the awake folks out there, and I know a lot of your listeners are waking up to the truth, Hollywood is the wood that a witch's staff is made from, and Hollywood has always been, casting spells on people, acclimating people, and they've always been used for propaganda. And I would just like to discuss for a few minutes, if you want, about why do you think it is that when the whole world sees Obama as somebody who is trying to destroy the Constitution and sovereignty of the United States, all these people who sold their soul to Lucifer out there are saying that we should give up our guns? Why do they want our guns, John?
Well, I think it's rather obvious because that is one of the aspects of the Marxist and communist ideology is to disarm the masses. I mean, let's look at this through the realistic eyes of a Barack Obama and the people that you're talking about. When we talk about Hollywood, what are we talking about? We're talking about people who make
propaganda machine. Yeah, go ahead.
We're talking about people that make a whole lot of money pretending to be something that they're not. And that is the core of the utopian collective progressive ideology, is that we can give you or we can make you something that you are not. We can create utopia if you just give us your liberties and you let us make decisions for you. We will make sure that you have everything that you need and that you won't have to worry about anything. The deception is, and this is why I think Hollywood is particularly deceived, is because when you spend your whole life pretending to be something that you're not, you cop this attitude that because you're so good at pretending something that you're not, that you actually become the thing that you're pretending to be. And so you're given some kind of status as being intelligent and compassionate and everything else, just because you make a lot of money pretending to be something that you're not. So this whole I think what Hollywood elitists believe is that because they use their celebrity to help advance the progressive agenda, that they will be exempted from any totalitarian type of decisions or tyranny that comes down because they're celebrities. And so the idea is we'll take everybody else's money, but they'll be exempted, which is a lie.
Whether or not some did or didn't sell their souls to the devil, or they whatever the real truth is. I'm not saying every single person, but we even know as far back as Mae West and Burl Ives were occultists and involved in they were high-level Eastern Star and Freemasonry and stuff. And are you familiar, John, that Hollywood has always been used for propaganda to push war and to rile the people up? And before we had television, there was newsreels, and you're probably more aware of that than I am. You want to explain, Hollywood has always been a propaganda machine?
Well, entertainment is all about illusion, and illusion is all about progressivism, so they seem to fit one another like a T. It's just you can't have one without the other. You've got to have something, when you study history and you see how effectively George Goebel was with getting the entire country of Germany to hand over their freedom to Hitler, get the entire parliament of Germany to allow Hitler to do whatever they want, suspend their constitution. Yeah, he's the guy that's going to fix us. It's perfect. It's a perfect combination. I mean, these two are great bedfellows because one strokes the other, and it's made for, if I can say it, it's made for TV.
Right. Like Goebbels and what's the other guy? I'm drawing a blank. The king of propaganda, Bernays, Edward Bernays. People look up to celebrities. So if celebrities say that you should vote for someone, I mean, look at what Oprah Winfrey did for Barack Obama's campaign. Mm-hmm. If a celebrity says something, so many people just don't have a mind of their own, and they'll just, I can't believe Sylvester Stallone made his whole career in violence, firing machine guns and doing all types of movies like that, and Schwarzenegger, and now they're coming out saying give up your guns because kids were killed at Sandy Hook, and there's reason to believe that that's probably not the truth, according to the FBI, who released the statistics that nobody died in Connecticut during that time frame. And these people, the second after a shooting takes place, they're out there screaming, we need to stop this for the children.
Well, yeah, that's the illusion.
Laughable.
The illusion is that Hollywood, everything in Hollywood is make-believe. And watching movies of violence and stuff like that, and Satanism, and the obsession that we have with things like zombies and vampires and the undead and everything else, all this stuff, when you talk to people in Hollywood, is an illusion. And so they're not responsible for influencing the minds of our kids out there that can walk into Columbine and think that everything is a video game and we just shoot everybody. And that's
Actually,
different,
John, it's not really an illusion. What it is acclamation. The fact of the matter is there are real monsters in the world. And from what I gather and what the research that we've done, they are acclimating the public towards the aliens are going to come down and save us through all of this stuff, or through violence. Because myself, I really can't stand to watch blood and gore movies, but a lot of people giggle and laugh and they think it's cool.
Yeah.
Same thing with the bloody video games.
Yeah.
And I think they're preparing us for what's about to take place so people won't be so shocked. And maybe some people who really like that blood and gore or the hardcore violence movies might, want to go work at Camp FEMA, and, at some point fantasy becomes, it's not enough just to fantasize.
Right.
You want the real thing. So, and I think they're twisting people's minds, and it's also a spiritual battle, in my opinion. I believe that Jesus said it's those who love blood and death, and I can't see Jesus Christ sitting in a movie theater laughing at people being beheaded or watching The Last House on the Left or any type of violent movie with killing and outward gore.
I agree. And
even Hitchcock was subtle. He didn't see the lady getting stabbed in the shower.
Yeah.
You saw the reaction on her face, and they showed you the shower curtain snapping, and they showed you ink, because it was black and white going down the drain. Nowadays, man, it's just like openly gratuitous, gross. You know, it's a sickness, and they're really programming people.
You hit on two very important points here, and we got to sum this up here because I got to do a commercial break. One, the illusion, the idea that the illusion is the reality, and the reality is the illusion. We can go further, and from a biblical perspective, we're calling evil good and good evil, and that leads to the second point you made, which I think is more to the point, and that is it is spiritual. It's all about a misperception of what eternity is going to look like, or if eternity even exists. And humans that are outside of the relationship with God don't understand that. They think eternity is whatever they want it to be, that there's going to be some great force. Let's wait for Tom Cruise to get elected president so that the aliens can come back and get us, that kind of thing.
Right. So, here's another thing, too, John. How many people do you think joined the Air Force after seeing the movie Top Gun?
Well, that would have been the Navy, but I don't know.
Right. Well, whatever. Air Force, Navy. In other words, wow, fighter pilot, right?
Yeah. Well, that was actually during my time in the Navy, and that would happen to be one of my favorite movies. But
yeah.
But I went. Yeah.
I'm just saying, do you see how much movies, or like The Walking Dead now, they're getting ready. They're getting people ready, so when the power does go out, the zombies are going to be people who can't get their psychotropic medicine anymore.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Or people who are starving. Or if some biological contagion starts spreading, they're getting ready. They're trying to get people ready to kill one another when it comes down to it.
Right.
And the fact that people watch stuff like that and find it entertaining, when it actually goes down and the banking system collapses and the power goes off, it's going to just make them, it's desensitized them to the violence. Playing video games or watching TV shows and movies like that, it's going to make it easier for them to make the transition in real life to just kill without even thinking about it.
Right, and that's where we're at right now. Life has become desensitized. And the value of life has certainly been desensitized. Things like abortion and stuff have all fed into that. The violence that we see now is all justified. Black Lives Matter is justified violence, that kind of stuff. So I got to let you go here. We're way over our time here. We got to get into our commercials here and pay our bills.
I love you. Keep up the good work, brother.
Okay, thank you so much, Rick. Thanks so much. Okay, guys, it's time for a break here. When we come back, I'm going to get back into my dissertation, my daily dissertation today, as to what's going on here, the intermingling, the crossover interface between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Hey, and welcome back. This is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews. And just want to remind everybody of prayers and wishes, good wishes out there for Joe Hakos, my co-host, who's been under the weather for almost a month now, recovering from a very bad infection that really knocked him out, literally put him bedridden for a couple of weeks. He's just started moving back around. So our best wishes out there. If you're hearing or listening to us, Joe, we're still thinking about you. We're waiting for you to get back. Now, let's get back into my dissertation here. That I've been, the theme behind my show today is kind of trying to get you, our listeners, to envision what's happening out here in terms of the overlap. It's an overlap, the Trump-Hillary Clinton confrontation that looks like may be the end game here, although I'm not ready to say Trump has got it, because as I said at the beginning of the show, when you look at the delegate count, Trump has won more primaries than everybody else. But when you look at the delegate count, it's just a little over 100 votes. I think it's 109 delegates separate Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. That is a very small margin. When we get into the March 15th primaries, which will be all or nothing, these have all been most of these have been proportionally dealt out. And the states that have given all of their delegates to the winner has been very small. But when we come up on March 15th, the next primary, 2 weeks from last night, and we start seeing results from like Florida, 100 delegates, winner take all kind of thing. If Trump pulls that off and takes Florida, as the polls right now show he may, when you start getting hunks like that, maybe after March 15th we can be a little more realistic about what's going on here. But my point being is that it's far from over right now. Rubio, I think, is going to stay in the race for no other reason, to try to turn this thing into a brokered convention by continuing to suck out delegates. If Rubio should pull off and win Florida, that would be to his advantage, not because it's going to give him a majority of delegates, but because that would take a big hunk away from Donald Trump and, again, continue to dilute the number of delegates out there to the point that nobody gets a clear-cut majority, nobody wins 50% in 8 states or more, and we go to a brokered convention. The other ace in the hole here is throwing somebody out there in a third-party run from the establishment, somebody like maybe they recycle Jeb Bush, or they get somebody like Mitt Romney to go, hey, go third party just so that we can stop this guy kind of thing. I don't know how that's going to work out. But I do believe, 99.9% sure, this thing is going to end up in brokered convention unless something drastically changes in the Trump camp. And that is, maybe they lodge one of these Hail Marys that they've been trying to do over the last couple of elections, or the last couple of primaries, and something sticks. I don't know. Maybe if Trump's tax returns happen to show something that they can use and the media can exploit, who knows? I mean, it could happen, but I'm not looking at it like that. I'm just looking at the end, we're going to look at a brokered convention. Now, I was talking about just before our break, and we came back, took our caller, that the Gruber theorem is what drives the Trump campaign. And it is also what drives the Sanders campaign. And for the same matter, it also drives the Clinton campaign. You think about a woman here, think about this. Just think about these two numbers here. Two things here. Trump and Clinton are leading right now in the favorability polls. Both of these people from New York, both of them are very disliked for different reasons. Hillary Clinton is disliked because she's seen as dishonest. She has a favorability rating somewhere around 50%. 60% of that 50%, 60% of the people that support Hillary Clinton do not believe that she's an honest person. But yet they will vote for her. Well, it's the Gruber theorem. It's the lack of transparency. It's the progressive ideology, the progressive narrative that says being a crook is okay as long as you get what you want. I will give you what you want in exchange for your support, even though I'm a crook. So we have a very large segment of our society today that they themselves are not principled. And they themselves have a sense of entitlement, something that we've been groomed to believe in, that the government is the source of everything that's supposed to fix every problem that we have, whether it be our schools, whether it be our economy, whether it be our climate, whether it be our churches. All these things need to be regulated and controlled by the government, because we, as a people, have bought into the narrative that, one, we're either too busy or we're too stupid to be able to handle this on our own. So we elect people. The Republicans have done it too. This is the biggest problem with the Republican Party, is that for too many years, I'm not a Republican anymore, Republicans and former Republicans elected people into office believing that they were going to govern the way that we elected them to govern. We picked people and said, you told us you were going to do this, and you were going to stand for this, and you were going to represent us in this manner, and so we elected you. And then we just kind of turned a blind eye and went about our business, just thinking that these guys are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And by not watching over them and by not vetting them and looking at their records when they ran up for re-election, we did not know that they were actually trying to figure out how to exploit us. And in the same process, learning how to marginalize us should we ever catch on to their exploitation. That's what we former Republicans and conservatives, whatever brand you're carrying these days, this is the problem. We let it go. On the Democrat side, they didn't care. They didn't really care. They don't care if their elected people are crooks, as long as that crookedness brings them something, because they have bought into it hook, line, and sinker. The government is the fix-all and the cure-all for everything. We conservatives took our elected officials at their word and thought they were doing their job, and they were not. And now that we have found out that they aren't doing their job, the ideology that we've always based our decisions on, and the ideology that's always driven us to the polls or kept us from the polls, has been thrown out the window. Now it's just, we want you idiots gone. We want you out. And we want what's going on out there right now to stop. And it doesn't matter if we get some wingnut guy who thinks that he can deal with government like a business in the truest sense of the word. I'm not saying that government isn't structured like business. I'm saying that through deal making, he's going to deal us back into greatness. That rather than Donald Trump using the "Let's Make America Great Again," he really should be carrying the mantra, although it's probably trademarked. Let's make a deal. That would be Donald Trump. Let's make a deal. You choose curtain number 1, number 2, number 3, and one of those has a zonk behind it. And I think that's what we're doing. The only difference is I think Donald Trump is setting us up. He's got 2 zonks behind the curtains. And one that's, not the grand prize, not the big deal of the day, but just enough to placate us, just enough to make us think that something's going on that's really great. It's great if you walked into, let's make a deal, and in the process of making a deal, you walk out with $100. You didn't get the big deal of the day, but you got $100, so you had $100 more than you walked in with. That's the thinking of Donald Trump. And it's the Gruber theorem, the stupidity of the American voter, to let their principles be diluted and to cast them aside just because they're so angry. And anybody with the IQ of seaweed knows that when you're angry and you make decisions based on your anger, 99% of the time they're going to be the wrong decisions, and that's where we're at right now. When we come back from the break here, I'm going to share with you something I actually picked up from Rush Limbaugh. I don't really like to plagiarize Limbaugh too much, but he hit on something yesterday that I think it's very worth sharing here. We're going to talk about an article written by Angelo Codevilla at American Spectator, or at the Federalist. I'm sorry, this article was published at the Federalist, and it really explains what we can expect to see in a Donald Trump administration should he end up going all the way. But right now it's time for Moments of Madness, so stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back. Today on Moments of Madness. As the Trump campaign continues to wreak havoc, like a disgruntled elephant escaping the circus from its cruel ringmaster during the main event, the astonishment on display of the now decades-old GOP establishment, yes, it has been around that long, reminds me of Mel Brooks' 2005 film, The Producers. If you watch this over-the-top satire that targets the hypocrisy that permeates Hollywood, you'll remember chronically depressed, introverted bookkeeper Leo Bloom, played by Matthew Broderick, who, while looking to escape his mundane 9-to-5 existence as a bookkeeper, teams up with washed-up Broadway producer Max Bialystock, played by Nathan Hall. After determining during an audit of Bialystock's books the IRS seldom audit failed productions, the two set out to produce the worst play they can find in hope of embezzling the capital raised free from any lawful oversight. They choose a play entitled Springtime for Hitler, written by Nazi sympathizer Franz Liebken, played by Will Ferrell, who they also cast in the leading role of Hitler. Cross-dressing homosexual actor-director Roger Debris, played by Gary Beach, is enlisted to direct and also ends up playing Hitler due to Franz breaking his leg on opening night. The humorous irony occurs when the play becomes an overnight sensation, placing Bialystock and Bloom in the crosshairs of not only investors but the law. In the same manner, Trump has rocked the foundation of the GOP establishment elite, directing his own rendition of Springtime for Hitler by repackaging Obama's hope and change as Make America Great Again. The difference being his self-funded campaign allows him to write his script as he goes, complete with rewrites of his positions in the past with zero accountability to his stated party, the special interest money that normally trumps the will of the electorate, and even the electorate itself. Trump has neutralized the media bias that normally reduces the will of the electorate to a choice between the lesser of two evils, and has actually forced the media elites into an unwilling alliance, garnering more attention than all the other candidates from both parties combined, all at no cost to him or his campaign. Here's the madness. Anyone who believes Trump's path to the White House will steer around a broker convention believes so under a dangerous false pretense. Those who believe such an action by the elites would result in an uprising of an enraged electorate that would march on Washington or stay home from the polls, depriving them of the victory they claim they seek, simply do not understand today's GOP. The dangerous false pretense I speak of is the elitists care what we think. The issues that matter to us mean absolutely nothing to today's GOP establishment. The evidence is obvious to anyone that takes just a moment to observe what has happened over the last 7+ years under Obama. Today's GOP does not want to govern conservatively. In fact, they wish not to govern at all. To support a Trump nomination is the kiss of death. If Trump runs against Hillary, the elitists on the other side, and loses, this allows the GOP elites to continue to talk a conservative game before surrendering to their enemies because they have, quote, no power. If the GOP wins the White House with Trump or even Cruz, they risk being exposed as people who would rather have Hillary. In the name of self-preservation, that cannot happen. The hard truth is today's electorate proves Jonathan Gruber's theorem. The stupidity of the American voter is the premise by which both establishments, left and right, chart their agenda, count their candidates, and govern, or don't govern. In the same way, leftists believe in the creation of utopia, too many on our side believe the likes of Trump will induce a change in Congress that will restore our republic. Both are delusional. We might as well be learning our new national anthem, Der Guten Tag, Hauptklop, the sacred Siegfried Oath from Springtime for Hitler. This is John Matthews for Moments of Madness.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. Welcome back. You are listening to none other than the Conservative Syndicate. I'm your host, John Matthews, mad prophet of the airways, on a mission from God, and that mission is to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. Glad to have you with us this afternoon, this fine afternoon, day after Super Tuesday. And I want to continue with my dissertation today. I actually have an objective as to where I want to go with this. I think it's really important that we come to understand the interface that is taking place between the Republican Party and the Democrat Party. And I'm not. And the kicker of this all is it is not including the party at all. It is the ceasing of basing decisions on an ideological slant. Meaning that Republicans, when you look at the Republican platform and you read about small government, limited government, opportunity for all, free enterprise, all that stuff, and you don't see it being practiced and you don't see it being defended, mostly defended, by the very people that we've elected to do that. On the left, we see the rise of a Bernie Sanders who basically says This is the land of the free stuff. This is the land of the free stuff. And what we'll do is we'll take all the money from those nasty, hateful, rich Republicans, and we'll give it all to the undereducated, impoverished liberals that we've created through 60-plus years of democratic regulations and taxation and everything else. So that's Bernie Sanders' plan. Donald Trump on the other side is going to make a deal. He's the Monty Hall of Congress. He's going to go out there and make all these deals, so many deals, and they're going to be so good that our heads are going to spin. We're not even going to believe it if we coin his phrases here. Let me give you an article here. I got two articles I want to go through before we get off the air tonight. This one I just found moments ago during the break, written at Politico. By Jake Sherman, Anna Palmer, and John Brishnahan, and it's called Ryan and McConnell's Plans for Trump. Okay? Now, I'm going to read you just the first few paragraphs here because this is how we have been marginalized. This is how we conservatives have been marginalized. The Democrats have their own marginalization process, but they buy their people off. They just say, we know you're dumb and stupid, and we know you're undereducated, and we know you're poor, but we did that for a reason because now you'll depend on us. So that pretty much sums up the Democratic ideology. But on the Republican side, they have to make it a little bit more pseudo-intellectual. They got to make it look like it's something that it's not, because Republicans are much more educated, much smarter, much able to reason, much better able to reason. Although, like I said, with Trump, all of that's gone out. See, that's the kicker here. Let me read you the first few paragraphs of this article at Politico. In the era of Donald Trump, they see themselves as the steadfast guardians of the Republican creed. House Speaker Paul Ryan and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell have an almost impossible political task as the real estate mogul steamrolls to the nomination, strategically distancing themselves from the Republican standard-bearer, keeping a close watch on their party's brand, all the while trying to keep Congress in GOP hands in November. Let me translate that for you. They're trying to figure out how to survive Donald Trump. Okay, now it goes on to say here, the rules of engagement have been blurry from the start. Ryan and McConnell mostly held their fire after Trump hurled insults at television personalities, the handicapped, popular statewide officials, and war heroes. Of course, they're referring to John McCain. But with their congressional majorities on the line, the GOP leaders' election season role is becoming clearer. They feel compelled to speak up when they believe the New York billionaire is perverting what it means to be a Republican. Listen to that. They feel compelled to speak up when they believe the New York billionaire is perverting what it means to be a Republican. No acknowledgement that they are the ones that have perverted the Republican brand. See, the problem with the GOP leadership is until such time that they are willing to come before the American people and say, you know what? We did lie to you, we did deceive you, and now we're reaping what we have sown in the likes of a Donald Trump who could come in here and just rock our world. Until they do that, nothing is going to change. And they're not going to do it because they don't think they're the problem. Donald Trump is the problem. The right-wing faction of the Republican Party is the problem. Barack Obama is the problem. Even though they're the ones that have allowed him to do what he wants to do, he's still the problem. See, they don't even recognize, they don't even know the disease. They don't even recognize the disease. They're like, you go into the doctor's office and you say, oh, my head hurts. And so they give you powder for athlete's foot. That's what we're dealing about here. He says, it hasn't happened too often, it goes on to say. But both Ryan and McConnell on Tuesday denounced Trump's apparent reluctance to disavow former Ku Klux Klan leader David Duke. And Ryan previously criticized Trump's plan to ban all Muslims from the United States. So this is what set Paul Ryan into motion. A former KKK member by the name of David Duke came out and said he thought that Trump's plan for immigration reform was what we needed for this country. And therefore he said, you know what, we need to vote for Trump. Now, he denied that was an endorsement. You can take that for whatever it's worth. But the point being, that triggered something. What did it trigger? It triggered the race card. The biggest fear of the GOP establishment is to be branded racist. That's the biggest fear. And why is that? It's because the narrative has changed and brought about the belief by the vast majority of Americans that the KKK is a Republican operative unit. It is an organization created by the Republican Party to oppress and hold down minorities, specifically those of black, color, and minorities, and Catholics, and Jews, and anybody else you want to throw under that brand. It is a white supremacist group created by the Republicans. Nothing could be further from the truth. Tomorrow, when I come on this show, I'm going to talk about the history of the KKK, because I noticed the same thing when I was at the gym this morning. I caught a segment on the View, and they were talking. Jonathan Karl from ABC was on the View this morning, and him and Whoopi Goldberg are talking about Donald Trump and the KKK. And Goldberg, she says, well, at least the Republicans. She's talking about Paul Ryan's renunciation of David Duke. Well, at least the Republicans are finally coming around and seeing what a bad organization the KKK is. It's too little, too late, but at least they're finally recognizing it for what it is. Well, tomorrow we're going to recognize it for what it is, and it's not a Republican operative organization. We're going to lay it out to you one more time, what the KK is about, how it evolved, what it was established on, and who was in it. It'll blow your mind. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. But back to my point here before we go to break. McConnell and Ryan, according to Politico, are the standard bearers of the Republican Party. They're the standard bearers of the Republican creed. And when somebody stands up and says something or doesn't say something that they feel is going to tarnish the brand of republicanism, they feel that they need to stand up and say something about it. How about standing up and talking about Obama? How about talking about progressivism? How about talking about Planned Parenthood and abortion? How about talking about same-sex marriage, homosexuality, all those things? They don't stand up and say diddly squat about that kind of stuff. Oh, they'll give you the little, we think marriage should be between a man and a woman. But, the Supreme Court has ruled on this, and this is now the law of the land, so what are we going to do? We don't have the White House. We can't do anything. We only have a majority in the Senate and the House. We can't do anything because we got this black guy in the White House, and we don't want to be seen as racist, and we don't want to be seen as people that offend people. No, we got to protect that. We got to protect that. That's what that's about. We got to go to a break. When we come back, we'll continue. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
Catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. All right. Welcome back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. And I just got a little comment here, made me chuckle. People think I'm doing a Linda Blair impersonation. All right. No, I was trying to maybe cop more of a Chris Christie Jersey accent there. But you get the drift of what I'm talking about. This idea that Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, everything that they're scheming right now, and I can tell you they're scheming. I believe this 100%. They're scheming something. They got something up their sleeves. They won't come out and say it, for fear of reprisal from an electorate gone mad. But they're looking how they're going to take down Trump. Something's in the works. And like I said, I believe it's going to be a broker convention. Whatever strategy leads to a broker convention is what they'll do. And it may be one or more things. It may be a combination of things. But don't think for 1 minute that Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan and the rest of these dweebs are sitting out there thinking about how they're going to work with Trump. that I can guarantee you that is not going on anymore. They're probably more concerned about how they'll work with Hillary Clinton than they will with Donald Trump. Because Hillary Clinton's real easy. Just bend over and take it again and just keep taking it and keep telling us at election time that you're going to stand up to them and you're going to stop them. We've caught on to you, Mr. McConnell, Mr. Ryan, and that's why Donald Trump is. You people have created Donald Trump. Not the right-wing extremist faction of the Republican Party, not Barack Obama, not Hillary Clinton, not the leftists. None of those people have created Donald Trump. You created Donald Trump because you were not doing what we elected you to do, and you put it all. Kept putting it over on us. It doesn't work anymore. We have figured it out. We have figured it out. You have been exposed, and there's nothing you can do about it at this point, except the only way you could help us now. Put your tail between your legs and get the hell out of Washington. Go out and become a special interest guy or a lobbyist or something. But leave our country alone. That's where we're going. Now, I want to get into this article here. I've only got a few minutes here. And I want to get into this article that I told you I picked up from Limbaugh today, yesterday. And it's written by Angelo Codvilla. I don't know if it's Codvilla or Codvilla. He wrote this for the Federalist. I'm going to read his first few paragraphs, and then we'll close with our comments on this. He says, the Obama years have brought America to the brink of transformation from constitutional republic into an empire ruled by secret deals promulgated by edicts. Civics classes teach us Congress makes the laws, the president carries them out, judges decide controversies, and we citizens may be penalized only by a jury of our peers. Nobody believes that anymore because no part of it has been true for a long time. Barack Obama stopped pretending that it is. During the 20th century second half, both parties and all branches of government made a mockery of the Constitution of 1789. Today's effective Constitution is the president can do whatever he wants so long as 1/3 of the Senate will sustain his vetoes and prevent his conviction upon impeachment. Obama has been our first emperor. A Donald Trump presidency, far from reversing the ruling class's unaccountable hold over American life, would seal it, because Trump would act as our second emperor. He would render well nigh impossible our return to republicanism. Today, nearly all the rules under which we live are made, executed, and adjudicated by agencies such as the Environmental Protection Agency, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, and countless boards and commissions. Congress no longer passes real laws. Instead, it passes broad grants of authority. The substance of the president's bureaucracy decides in cooperation with interest groups. Now, that's a mouthful. But here's the point. This guy hits it right on the head. This is what created Donald Trump. It is this idea that we no longer rule or are ruled under the Constitution. We're no longer governed by the mandates and the principles that the Constitution established. Today, what it is, the executive branch decrees, the Congress supports, and the Supreme Court rubber stamps. And that's what it is. We, the electorate, really have no say, one way or the other, what's going to come out of this. The only thing we're allowed to do every 4 years or every 2 years or every 6 years is pick the lesser of two evils in our own mind, and it's the greater of two evils in the minds of those running. You know, I can be more powerful than the other guy or girl that's running against me, but under the guise of I can do more for you. So, and we have been sucked into this illusion that what happens here is we determine who governs our country, when in fact the system itself dwindles down the real candidates, smears and destroys the lives of those who actually want to do public service as a service, and we are left with the professional politicians of which we choose, and then hope and pray to God that these people don't lead us down the road to destruction. And this is how this has been playing out now for way too long. Certainly since Jimmy Carter, and perhaps as far back as Franklin Roosevelt, that when we got to this point where it was all about what the executive officer of the country, the president, wanted, and then everybody else lines up one way or the other. They cut their deals. Everybody benefits from it, so it's a big, that's a good thing. The narrative itself, people have bought into this. The narrative itself is that, well, isn't it government's job to get together and discuss and then compromise and come and agree and come up with something? Well, yes, it is their job, but it isn't their job when it's at our detriment and at our expense. When two parties of government, or when any government bureaucracy gets together with another government bureaucracy or another political party, and the agreement made is to the detriment of the people being represented, then it is not an agreement, and that is not government. That is ruling. That is tyranny. That is what is wrong. And Trump, even though I believe Trump is every much like Barack Obama, I think he is almost a carbon copy, just came up a different way. Barack Obama came up through the education system. He was educated in public schools by a mandate by federal government that dangles a carrot out there at states and say, we want social engineering in exchange for federal money. But Donald Trump came up through the same schools, but went to a college, was handed a bunch of money by his dad, and turned it into a multi-billion-dollar empire. But they both have the same objective, and that is doing what they want based on what they believe needs to be done. Barack Obama represents the brand of Marxism. He is much more a Marxist than he is anything else. It's just Marxists will use any hybrid ideology that they can. Throw a little socialism, throw a little capitalism in there, throw a little communism in there, throw a little Islam in there, throw a little Christianity in there, mix it all up, and you come up with this bastardized idea of what government is supposed to do and what part it's supposed to play in our lives. Donald Trump is simple. We just make deals. See, he has a right when he says Obama's a bad deal maker, because Obama doesn't make deals. Obama goes in and uses his ability to bully people into what they want. I believe wholeheartedly that there are a lot of people, including some people on the Supreme Court, John Roberts I'll mention in particular, are under the thumb of Obama because they're being blackmailed. Obama was raised in the Chicago machine. This guy knows that this is syndicate stuff. The syndicate people dictate, and that's how they get what they want. They find dirt on the judges, or they create dirt on the judges, or something like that. And they get what they want through the courts. They buy off politicians, or they find something on politicians, and they get them to vote the way they want. I mean, this is like watching The Godfather, for crying out loud. Vito Corleone and his protection and his politicians and everything else. It's the same thing. It works the same way. So, anyway, I think that's all we're going to be able to get done today. And when I come back tomorrow, I'm going to continue this because that's what I do in this show. I like to exhaust a topic. I want to give you everything that I can in order for you to be able to share this and tell other people. I want to recommend or suggest that you go to my website, theconservativesyndicate.net. Pick up this show if you want to share it with somebody. We got more coming tomorrow. Karen Sigmund from Rage Against the Media is supposed to be with us tomorrow, so we'll get her take on the debate or the debate on the primaries, and of course we got another debate coming up tomorrow. Hey, tomorrow's another debate day, so we'll talk about that tomorrow too. Also, so God bless you all again. Thank you so much for your loyalty. We appreciate it. We love you, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all of our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's the conservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best and uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, signing off until next time, right here on the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.